I'm also going to say that it is my real turn because I'm running for office, and it's definitely something. How you said it, no one tells you when it's your turn, and it is my turn because I say it's my turn, and I think I can, help with public service, and I'm ready to do this, and I'm ready to help. So I'm glad you made that point. I know it was very helpful, but also two really important issues that I want to chat about real quick from my district. One is trade schools I mentioned before, but definitely really important. There's a lot of students in this district who are not, trying to go to a four-year institution, not even a two-year associates. They want, to gain some skills to move into the labor workforce. And, my thing is, what's wrong with being an EMT? What's wrong with being a heavy equipment operator? What's wrong with being an electrician? I mean, someone has to turn on the light no matter what. So it's definitely something that's really important to my district. There are more military recruiters going into the Hillsborough Deering High School than admissions counselors. So it's kind of crazy to think about that and how they're trying to recruit students into the military, and they are seeing it as sometimes an only option, which I see is a great choice for some, but some feel a little stuck and might choose that, not actually loving it or wanting to serve. The second issue that we are really facing in this district, but also the state, is the opiate epidemic. Unfortunately, my district is very close to the pipeline for the opiate entering into the New Hampshire, which is in Jaffrey, very close to the Massachusetts border, on the southwest side of the state. And I'm a bit tired of people looking at drug addicts and things as, oh, well, kind of like we're better than them, or they made poor choices and they're not great people. And it's hard because I see those people as my community members and my uncles and brothers and friends and sisters, and I think for us to be able to actually make a change, we need to stop looking at them as such and be like, well, you need some help and I'm going to be there to help you, and I'm going to put my hand up and say you need help. And people just don't have access to that, especially in the state of New Hampshire. We've tried to make it a little more accessible. We have medical marijuana in the state, but we still are not decriminalizing marijuana. So a lot of these people who perhaps get caught with marijuana possession, they go into jail and then they come out with more addictions, whether it's alcoholism or heroin, which is huge in New Hampshire. And that's unfortunate that they develop these addictions from a place that we put them in the first place. So I'm definitely interested in opiate reform and mental health, along with health care. We have spoken about health care and how it should be a right, not a privilege, and I totally agree with that, but mental health is definitely something that is a big part of that too, that I feel sometimes we tend to forget about. With that, also, just switching gears a little bit, the University of New Hampshire, our biggest state school in the state, has the highest in-state tuition of anywhere else in the United States. So that's really hard, and there's a reason why all of our, best and brightest are going to Boston to study. And I know Christy was talking about GE moving to Boston because it's just a great spot for it. And we've seen that too, being on another border of Massachusetts, is our students are leaving us for Massachusetts as well, and that's fantastic, and I'm so fortunate that they're getting the jobs that they want. But why can't we have those in New Hampshire? We have plenty of space, and we just need the students who need a reason, and millennials need a reason to come here and raise their families. And so I totally agree with that. But definitely the two largest issues in this district would be trade school opportunities and alternatives to higher education and affordable education, but also drug epidemic in the state.
Wow. And what is some of, just curious, if you don't have any specific examples, what is some of the work, what is some of the stuff, because I know that there's been a conversation that I'm hearing more and more about is, the heroin epidemic in many places. Before living here, I lived in Charleston, West Virginia, and I went to WVU for law school, and I know that that was like becoming a really big issue with some of the kids on campus. I mean, you also mentioned, dealing with opiate reform, and I know for like some kids, like folks would get addicted like painkillers, and then it was actually cheaper to do heroin. Do I
Mm-hmm.
have that right? Yes.
Yes.
So I know it's becoming like a huge concern, and it's just so wild because I don't think growing up I really like people did drugs. I'm not gonna pretend like I grew up in the '90s, grunge music. I'm not gonna pretend like people didn't do drugs around me, but like I don't think I could ever think of any of my peers in high school, college, or any other point ever, and it just seems like we've had this explosion almost in so many communities. Like what type of work or how do you see like it being handled in your community? What are some things that you think maybe need to be changed? Um, or is it not being really addressed very well at all, and it's just something that needs more attention?
Sure, that's a great, follow-up question, and I think it needs more attention. We've scratched the surface of it. I know the current House and Senate and the state have touched the surface, but everyone is pretty much saying, we need a plan, but what is the plan? And then they keep circling back with that. I can tell you that we have subcommittees for, drug reform, but then the committee goes back and says, well, we need a meeting about the meeting, and then we need to reform that meeting. So it's really, a struggle, and I feel that people aren't, exactly moving towards getting it done. So, the solution, it's not going to be simple. It's going to, take money. It's going to take a huge portion, I think, of the budget for the state, but it's something that needs to be addressed so we can, effectively do this. This is not an issue that we can go half in. We need to be all in. We all need to be on the same page with this, and we need to be able to fund it.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I think from what I've seen from people, I know I see a lot of politicians wringing their hands and people getting upset in public, but I think you're right in terms of what is the plan, what's the execution going to be, and then funding. That does seem like that's been kind of an issue.